Poverty is a harsh reality for millions of people around the world. It's easy to think of it as simply a lack of money, but the impact goes much deeper than empty pockets or unpaid bills. Imagine living day to day, constantly worrying about how to provide food for your family, how to keep a roof over your head, or how to handle unexpected emergencies without any financial safety net. This is the reality for over 700 million people globally, a staggering number equal to nearly 10% of the world's population, who live in extreme poverty, surviving on less than $2.50 a day. But poverty isn't just an economic struggle. It silently erodes your mental health in ways that often go unnoticed. It's a mental weight that never lifts, gnawing away at your sense of security, self-worth, and hope for a better future. The constant pressure creates a feeling of powerlessness, as every day is a battle for survival. What many don't realize is that poverty doesn't just leave you without financial resources. It chips away at your emotional and psychological well-being. It plants seeds of anxiety, stress, and depression, which can grow into deeper mental health crises if left unchecked. In this video, we'll explore how poverty quietly devastates mental health, backed by scientific research and real-life experiences. We'll uncover the hidden emotional toll of living in poverty and how it traps people in a cycle that feels impossible to escape. Poverty isn't just about lacking money, it's about the silent suffering that millions endure every day. The link between poverty and stress. Poverty doesn't just affect what's in your wallet. It affects your body and mind in ways that can be devastating. One of the most significant ways this happens is through chronic stress. When you live in poverty, you're constantly worrying about survival. Will I have enough money for rent this month? What happens if my car breaks down? How can I afford my child's medicine? This relentless state of worry triggers your body's stress response, leading to a rise in cortisol, the hormone responsible for managing stress. While short-term stress can be a normal part of life, the constant financial uncertainty that comes with poverty causes chronic stress, keeping cortisol levels elevated for extended periods. When cortisol remains high over time, it starts to have harmful effects on your brain and body. Studies have shown that high cortisol levels can weaken the immune system, making you more vulnerable to illness, contribute to anxiety, depression, and sleep disorders, impair cognitive functions such as memory, attention, and decision-making. Essentially, poverty puts your body in a constant state of fight-or-flight mode, where you're always bracing for the next crisis. This not only wears you down physically, but also creates a vicious cycle. Stress impairs your ability to think clearly and make good decisions, which makes it harder to get out of poverty in the first place. Consider the emotional toll on someone who can't afford healthcare or struggles to feed their family. Each day becomes a battle of trade-offs. Do they buy groceries or pay the utility bill? This relentless decision-making drains mental energy, leaving them constantly anxious and unable to focus on anything beyond basic survival. Over time, the weight of these daily stresses becomes overwhelming, leading to more serious mental health conditions. Impact on cognitive function. The stress of living in poverty doesn't just affect your mood or energy levels, it fundamentally changes the way your brain works. When you're constantly struggling to make ends meet, your brain is under constant pressure, and this has a measurable impact on your ability to think clearly, make decisions, and solve problems. Research has shown that poverty can impair cognitive function. A landmark study from Harvard and Princeton revealed that the mental load of financial worries can lead to a 13-point drop in IQ. This is equivalent to losing a full night's sleep or being cognitively impaired by the effects of alcohol. The brain becomes so focused on immediate survival needs, like how to pay bills or get food, that it has less capacity for other important tasks, such as planning for the future, focusing at work, or making well-considered decisions. The concept of scarcity mindset explains how living with limited resources consumes mental bandwidth. When you're constantly focused on what you don't have, your brain is stuck in a loop of short-term thinking. This diminishes your ability to think strategically or plan for the long term, making it harder to save money, improve your situation, or make sound financial decisions. This creates a cognitive trap. The very thing people need to escape poverty clear thinking, and good decision-making is diminished by the stress of living in it. Imagine a single mother trying to juggle multiple low-paying jobs while raising her children. She's constantly thinking about how to stretch every dollar, which bills to pay first, or whether she can afford school supplies for her kids. With her mind overloaded by these daily pressures, she finds it harder to focus at work or make plans for her family's future, like going back to school herself or finding a better job. Each day, her mental energy is spent just trying to survive, leaving little room for hope or future ambitions. This cognitive overload traps people in poverty by robbing them of the mental clarity and energy needed to rise above their circumstances. Poverty creates a constant state of mental fatigue, where even small decisions feel overwhelming. And this can perpetuate the cycle of hardship. Studies show that people in poverty often make financial decisions that seem counterproductive, like taking out payday loans or avoiding healthcare. This isn't due to a lack of intelligence or willpower, but rather because their cognitive load is so consumed by immediate survival concerns. The result? A cycle of poor decisions driven by the scarcity of both financial and mental resources. Depression and anxiety in low-income households. The emotional weight of poverty doesn't just manifest as stress, it also deeply affects mental health, often leading to more serious conditions like depression and anxiety. For many, the relentless struggle of making ends meet becomes overwhelming, and over time, this constant battle can erode one's sense of hope, self-worth, and happiness. Research shows that people living in low-income households are twice as likely to suffer from mental health disorders such as depression and anxiety. This connection is not coincidental. Poverty strips away the basic sense of stability and security that is essential for mental well-being. Living with financial instability, social stigma, and feelings of helplessness over time can contribute to chronic emotional distress. The ongoing stress and uncertainty of poverty lead to chronic depression for many individuals. Poverty limits access to basic needs, such as nutritious food, stable housing, and health care, which are vital for maintaining physical and mental health. Lack of these necessities can make people feel trapped and hopeless, feeding into depressive cycles. The World Health Organization has linked poverty to major depressive disorders, noting that the poorer an individual is, the higher their risk for depression. Poverty is a constant source of anxiety. For those living paycheck to paycheck, the fear of losing a job, becoming homeless, or facing an unexpected financial crisis is ever present. Anxiety thrives on uncertainty, and when every aspect of life feels precarious, it can fuel generalized anxiety disorder, GAD. Studies have shown that financial stress is one of the most common causes of anxiety in adults, especially in households facing poverty. Consider someone who has recently lost their job and is now struggling to pay rent. Each day, they wake up filled with dread about eviction, overdue bills, and not knowing where their next meal will come from. This fear gradually builds into crippling anxiety. Over time, this anxiety becomes so pervasive that even basic tasks, like applying for jobs or handling household responsibilities, feel impossible. Their mind is overwhelmed with fear, and depression begins to set in as hope for a better future diminishes. Social isolation and stigma. Living in poverty also isolates people socially, which can worsen mental health conditions. The stigma attached to poverty often leads to feelings of shame and worthlessness. People in low-income situations may withdraw from their social circles, feeling as if they don't belong or are being judged. This social isolation further fuels depression and anxiety, as human connection and support are essential for emotional well-being. A study by the American Psychological Association found that low-income individuals were significantly more likely to experience feelings of worthlessness and loneliness, which are major indicators of depression. Another study from the National Institutes of Health, NIH, showed that anxiety disorders were more prevalent in communities facing economic hardship, largely due to the high levels of stress and uncertainty that poverty brings. The worst part is that depression and anxiety, exacerbated by poverty, make it even more difficult to escape it. Mental health struggles lower motivation and productivity, making it harder to hold down a job, pursue education, or create a plan for financial improvement. It's a trap that keeps many people stuck in poverty, where mental illness feeds financial insecurity, and vice versa. The poverty mental health cycle. Poverty and mental health issues are part of a self-perpetuating cycle that traps millions of people in a vicious loop. As we've seen, the constant stress of financial hardship fuels depression and anxiety, which in turn makes it harder to escape poverty. This is often referred to as the poverty trap, a devastating cycle where poor mental health keeps people in poverty, and poverty continually deteriorates mental health. This cycle is supported by a growing body of research known as psychosocial stress theory, which explains how prolonged exposure to stress from poverty affects both mental and physical health. When people are mentally exhausted from financial struggles, their ability to improve their situation is dramatically reduced. Mental health disorders like depression and anxiety impair motivation, decision-making, and productivity, all of which are essential for upward mobility. This, in turn, keeps people locked in poverty, creating a feedback loop that's extremely difficult to break. People suffering from mental health issues caused by poverty often find it harder to concentrate, focus on tasks, or even get out of bed. This can lead to poor job performance, or the inability to hold down a stable job. Long-term mental health issues may lead to job loss or make it difficult to seek new employment. Research shows that people suffering from anxiety or depression often face discrimination in the job market, and their reduced ability to manage stress can hinder job interviews, work performance, and overall career progression. The emotional toll of poverty-induced depression often saps motivation, making it difficult to pursue education or training that could lead to better job prospects. This lack of drive can also prevent people from seeking help, whether it be therapy, financial counseling, or social services. According to a report by the World Bank, poverty is both a cause and a consequence of poor mental health. Mental illness exacerbates poverty by making it harder to complete education, hold a job, and maintain social relationships. Without adequate mental health care or social support, people are more likely to remain in poverty for longer periods, if not for their entire lives. A study published in The Lancet Psychiatry further underscores this, showing that people with mental health conditions are more likely to live in poverty and that the economic costs of untreated mental illness are staggering, both on an individual and societal level. In fact, the economic burden of untreated mental health issues in low-income households is estimated to be in the trillions globally. The emotional impact of feeling trapped. For many living in poverty, there's a deep sense of hopelessness and resignation. They begin to believe that no matter how hard they try, they won't be able to change their situation. This emotional exhaustion makes it harder for them to take action, even when opportunities present themselves. It becomes easier to accept the cycle than to fight against it, especially when poverty seems never-ending. Consider someone who has lost their job due to layoffs. As the bills pile up, they begin to feel overwhelmed and increasingly anxious. Their mental health deteriorates to the point where they struggle to get out of bed, let alone look for new job opportunities. The longer they remain unemployed, the more hopeless they feel. Eventually, their anxiety and depression become so severe that even the idea of seeking help feels impossible. They may not qualify for unemployment benefits or lack access to affordable health care, and the cycle continues. Poverty also limits access to critical mental health services. In many low-income communities, mental health resources are scarce or unaffordable. This lack of access means that people's mental health deteriorates over time without proper treatment, making it even harder to escape the poverty cycle. For those who do seek help, the cost of mental health services can be prohibitive. Many must choose between seeking therapy or paying for basic necessities, creating an impossible situation. The poverty mental health cycle can only be broken with comprehensive support systems. This means providing access to therapy, counseling, and medication is critical to improving mental health outcomes for those living in poverty. Helping individuals manage their finances, access government support, or find better-paying jobs can help alleviate some of the economic stress that contributes to mental health issues. Social networks and community organizations can play a pivotal role in offering emotional support and resources to those struggling with poverty. Breaking the cycle of poverty and mental illness requires more than individual effort. It demands systemic change. Governments, nonprofits, and communities must work together to provide mental health services, financial assistance, and opportunities for education and employment. Effects on children's mental health. The impact of poverty on mental health isn't confined to adults. It affects children in profound and lasting ways. When children grow up in poverty, the emotional and psychological toll can follow them for the rest of their lives, shaping how they see the world and how they cope with challenges. Poverty is considered a significant adverse childhood experience, AC, which refers to traumatic events that occur during childhood. These experiences, such as financial instability, neglect, and food insecurity, can have long-term effects on a child's mental and physical health. Studies from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, show that children exposed to ACEs are at higher risk for developing anxiety, depression, learning disabilities, and behavioral issues later in life. Growing up in poverty disrupts normal brain development, particularly in areas of the brain related to emotion regulation, memory, and learning. Research has found that children living in poverty have smaller brain volumes in areas responsible for cognitive function and emotional control. This can have significant impacts on poor mental health, and stress from living in poverty often result in lower academic achievement, which can hinder a child's future prospects and trap them in the cycle of poverty. Poverty often forces children to witness family stressors, like arguments over money, eviction threats, or food scarcity. These experiences can foster chronic anxiety and insecurity, making it difficult for them to feel safe or supported. Children in poverty experience chronic stress much like adults, but the effects are even more pronounced during their developmental years. High stress levels in childhood impair the functioning of the prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision-making and impulse control, and the amygdala, responsible for emotional responses. This can lead to children in poverty are more likely to develop generalized anxiety disorders due to the constant uncertainty about their future. Chronic stress can also lead to emotional outbursts, aggressive behavior, or withdrawal from social interactions, as children lack the ability to process their emotions in healthy ways. Long-term effects. Children exposed to poverty are more likely to develop serious mental health problems as adults, including depression, anxiety, and PTSD. Because of the cognitive and emotional challenges they face, children from low-income families often struggle academically and socially. This puts them at a disadvantage in later life, limiting job opportunities and increasing their chances of remaining in poverty. Consider a child growing up in a household where the family constantly struggles to pay rent, often moves due to financial instability, and cannot afford nutritious food or extracurricular activities. This child might perform poorly in school because they're hungry, anxious, or preoccupied with their family's problems. As a result, they may fall behind academically, become socially withdrawn, and feel overwhelmed by life's uncertainties. This constant state of insecurity can follow them into adulthood, making it harder to escape the circumstances they were born into. Harvard University's Center on the Developing Child found that the chronic stress of poverty alters brain architecture during childhood, making it harder for children to regulate emotions and make thoughtful decisions as they grow up. A study by the American Psychological Association showed that children living in poverty are more likely to exhibit symptoms of depression and anxiety before reaching adolescence, and these mental health challenges often continue into their adult lives. Children in poverty often live in unsafe neighborhoods, adding to their stress levels. The constant exposure to violence or unstable housing situations creates a sense of insecurity that affects their emotional and psychological well-being. Schools in low-income areas are typically underfunded, which means fewer resources for mental health support, counseling, or enrichment activities that could help children manage stress and develop resilience. Breaking the cycle for children. Providing mental health support in schools and communities is crucial to helping children in poverty develop healthy coping mechanisms. Programs that focus on building emotional intelligence, resilience, and stress management can make a significant difference in these children's lives. Ensuring that children in poverty have access to nutritious food, stable housing, and safe environments can alleviate some of the stress and improve their mental health outcomes. Creating spaces where children feel supported, safe, and understood can help mitigate some of the negative effects of growing up in poverty. Programs that offer tutoring, social interaction, and emotional support can give children the tools they need to break the poverty cycle. The long-lasting effects of poverty on children's mental health can't be overstated. Children who grow up in poverty aren't just facing immediate challenges. They're developing in environments that compromise their mental health for the rest of their lives. By addressing these issues early on, through community support, mental health services, and educational resources, we can help break the cycle and give every child the chance to thrive. Despite the overwhelming evidence linking poverty and mental health issues, significant stigma and misconceptions persist in society. These barriers not only hinder understanding but also prevent individuals from seeking help, ultimately worsening their situation. Common misconceptions. A prevalent belief is that mental health problems are the result of personal weaknesses or failures. This misconception stigmatizes individuals, making them feel ashamed or guilty about their struggles. The reality is that poverty creates a host of stressors that can lead to mental health issues, regardless of a person's character or willpower. Many people view poverty as a result of poor decision-making or lack of effort. However, this perspective ignores the systemic factors that contribute to poverty, such as lack of access to education, healthcare, and job opportunities. It also overlooks the mental health barriers that make it difficult for individuals to escape poverty. There's a misconception that mental health issues are primarily found in affluent populations. In reality, the prevalence of mental illness is often higher in low-income communities due to the constant stress and trauma associated with financial instability. Many individuals in these communities do not receive proper diagnoses or treatment due to lack of resources or social stigma. Impact of stigma. The stigma surrounding mental health and poverty creates a culture of silence. People may avoid discussing their struggles or seeking help due to fear of being judged or misunderstood. This silence can exacerbate feelings of isolation and hopelessness, making it even harder for individuals to break free from the cycle of poverty and mental health challenges. A study published in the Journal of Health and Social Behavior found that individuals with mental health issues are often perceived as less competent or more dangerous, leading to discrimination and social exclusion. This is particularly true for those living in poverty, who face dual stigma from their economic status and mental health challenges. Research from the National Institute of Mental Health, NIMH, indicates that stigma can lead to delayed treatment, reduced access to services, and increased feelings of hopelessness among those with mental health conditions. Media portrayals of poverty often reinforce negative stereotypes, presenting individuals as lazy or unmotivated, rather than as people facing systemic barriers. This can perpetuate misconceptions and influence public attitudes toward those living in poverty. Furthermore, the lack of representation of mental health issues in these narratives means that the complexities of these challenges remain unaddressed. Educating the public about the realities of poverty and its impact on mental health is essential. Understanding that mental health issues can affect anyone, regardless of their economic status, can help reduce stigma. Encouraging open discussions about mental health in all communities, especially in low-income areas, can create a supportive environment where individuals feel safe to share their experiences and seek help. Highlighting diverse stories of individuals overcoming mental health challenges, particularly those from low-income backgrounds, can shift perceptions and inspire change. Positive representations can help combat stereotypes and foster empathy. Consider a person living in a low-income neighborhood who is struggling with depression. They may be hesitant to seek help because they fear being judged by their community or labeled as weak. This fear can keep them from accessing essential resources, leading to further isolation and worsening mental health. By addressing the stigma around poverty and mental health, we can create a more supportive environment that encourages individuals to seek the help they need. Stigma and misconceptions surrounding poverty and mental health are significant barriers that prevent individuals from seeking help and support. By promoting understanding, education, and open dialogue, we can work toward dismantling these harmful stereotypes and creating a more inclusive society where everyone feels empowered to seek help for their mental health, regardless of their economic status. Solutions and support systems. While the challenges of poverty and mental health can feel overwhelming, there are numerous solutions and support systems that can help break the cycle and improve the well-being of those affected. By focusing on both individual and systemic approaches, we can create an environment that fosters resilience and recovery. Ensuring that individuals living in poverty have access to mental health services is crucial. This can involve expanding access to affordable mental health care through government programs, sliding scale fees, and community health centers can help reduce barriers to treatment. Organizations like Medicaid and Medicare can play a critical role in providing mental health services for low-income individuals. Combining mental health services with primary care can address both physical and mental health needs in one setting. This approach can help reduce stigma and improve access to care. Community-based programs can provide essential resources and emotional support. Creating peer-led support groups where individuals can share their experiences and coping strategies can foster community connection and resilience. These networks can help individuals feel less isolated and more empowered. Providing educational workshops in community centers, schools, and workplaces can raise awareness about mental health issues and reduce stigma. Topics can include stress management, coping strategies, and the importance of seeking help. Financial support is essential in alleviating the burden of poverty. Programs that offer emergency financial assistance can help individuals pay for housing, utilities, and food in times of crisis. Organizations such as United Way and Salvation Army often provide these services. Providing access to job training programs can equip individuals with skills necessary to secure stable employment. Programs that partner with local businesses to offer internships and job placements can be particularly effective. Policy changes and advocacy. Advocating for policy changes is critical to addressing the systemic issues that contribute to poverty and mental health challenges. Advocating for policies that raise the minimum wage and support fair labor practices can help alleviate poverty and reduce the stress associated with financial insecurity. Supporting mental health policy reforms that expand access to care, improve funding for mental health services, and prioritize mental health in public health agendas is essential for creating a more supportive environment. Educational institutions can play a vital role in supporting mental health. Implementing mental health services in schools can help identify and support students struggling with mental health issues early on. Counselors and psychologists in schools can provide crucial support and resources. Programs that teach students about emotional regulation, empathy, and resilience can equip them with the tools to manage stress and build healthy relationships. These skills can also help break the cycle of poverty by improving academic outcomes. Building resilience. Promoting resilience is essential for individuals facing the challenges of poverty and mental health. Teaching coping strategies such as mindfulness, meditation, and relaxation techniques can help individuals manage stress and anxiety more effectively. Offering training in financial literacy, problem-solving, and communication can empower individuals to navigate challenges more effectively and improve their quality of life. Consider a community that implements a program combining job training with mental health support. Participants receive job skills training while also having access to counseling services. This dual approach not only helps them secure stable employment, but also addresses the underlying mental health issues stemming from financial stress. As participants gain employment, they experience reduced financial strain, leading to improved mental well-being. While the challenges of poverty and mental health can seem insurmountable, effective solutions and support systems exist that can help break the cycle. By improving access to mental health services, providing community support, advocating for policy changes, and fostering resilience, we can create a more equitable society that empowers individuals to overcome the challenges they face. It's essential to recognize that tackling these intertwined issues requires collective effort, compassion, and commitment to creating lasting change. To truly understand the profound impact of poverty on mental health, it's important to hear the voices of those who have lived through these challenges. Personal stories and testimonials can illuminate the emotional realities of poverty and mental health struggles, providing a human face to the statistics and research. Maria is a single mother of 2 living in a low-income neighborhood. After losing her job during the pandemic, she struggled to pay her rent and provide food for her children. The constant worry about her family's future led to anxiety and depression. Maria often felt overwhelmed and unable to cope with daily tasks. She struggled to get out of bed and found it difficult to engage with her children. The stress of financial instability affected her ability to focus on job searching, creating a cycle of despair. After seeking help from a local community center, Maria was able to access counseling services. The support she received helped her manage her anxiety, and she learned coping strategies that allowed her to regain her motivation. With time, she found a job that offered stability and began to rebuild her family's life. Jamal grew up in a neighborhood with high levels of poverty and violence. As a child, he faced bullying and social isolation due to his family's financial struggles. The combination of his environment and the pressure to succeed in school led to severe anxiety and feelings of inadequacy. Jamal felt he had to prove himself to others, leading to burnout and depression. With the support of a mentor from a local youth program, Jamal learned to articulate his feelings and confront the stigma surrounding mental health. He started attending therapy and discovered healthy outlets for his emotions through art. This transformative experience not only improved his mental health, but also encouraged him to pursue his dream of becoming an artist. These personal stories highlight the vital role of community support systems. When individuals face poverty, having access to resources like counseling, mentorship, and peer support can significantly impact their mental health and overall well-being. Community centers, schools, and local organizations can serve as safe havens where individuals can seek help and connect with others who understand their struggles. These spaces foster a sense of belonging and reduce feelings of isolation. Listening to stories like Maria's and Jamal's can inspire others who are struggling. They remind us that healing is possible and that support can come from unexpected places. Personal testimonies can also galvanize communities to take action, create change, and address the systemic issues that perpetuate poverty and mental health struggles. Personal narratives can also influence public perception and policy. By sharing their experiences, individuals can challenge stereotypes and advocate for change, highlighting the need for comprehensive support systems for those affected by poverty and mental health issues. Organizations can use personal stories to advocate for policy changes, fundraising, and raising awareness about the issues faced by low-income individuals. These stories humanize the statistics, and statistics provide a powerful call to action. When people share their journeys, they empower others to speak out and seek help. The more voices that join the conversation, the greater the potential for social change and increased understanding of the interconnectedness of poverty and mental health. Personal stories of those affected by poverty and mental health challenges serve as powerful reminders of the human side of these issues. They illustrate the struggles and triumphs that individuals face while navigating their circumstances. By amplifying these voices, we can foster empathy, challenge misconceptions, and advocate for systemic change. Supporting one another through shared experiences and understanding can lead to transformative healing and empower communities to work together toward a more equitable future. As we have explored throughout this discussion, the intersection of poverty and mental health is a complex and pressing issue that requires urgent attention and action. While the challenges may seem daunting, there are tangible steps that individuals, communities, and policymakers can take to make a meaningful difference. Engage with local organizations that support mental health and poverty alleviation. Whether it's mentoring youth, helping in food banks, or providing support at shelters, every bit of effort can have a significant impact. Join advocacy groups that focus on mental health and poverty issues. Attend town hall meetings, participate in rallies, and raise your voice to push for policy changes that address these systemic issues. Consider donating to mental health organizations or charities that work specifically with low-income populations. Your contribution can help fund essential services, outreach programs, and community support initiatives. Use your platforms, social media, blogs, or community gatherings to raise awareness about the impact of poverty on mental health. Sharing information, resources, and personal stories can educate others and inspire action. If you are in a position to do so, create or participate in community forums where individuals can discuss mental health and poverty without fear of stigma. Encourage open dialogue about these issues in your workplace, school, or neighborhood. If you know someone who is struggling with the effects of poverty on their mental health, reach out and offer your support. Sometimes, simply being there to listen can make a significant difference. Reach out to local and national representatives to express your concerns about poverty and mental health issues. Share insights from your community and advocate for policies that prioritize mental health care access, affordable housing, and living wages. Stay informed about legislative efforts that aim to improve mental health services and combat poverty. Sign petitions, write letters, and rally support for laws that address these interconnected challenges. Partner with local organizations to host workshops or seminars focused on mental health awareness, stress management, and financial literacy. Education is a powerful tool in breaking the cycle of poverty and mental health struggles. Create and distributes informational materials about mental health resources available in your area. Help connect individuals to services that can assist them in their journey toward better mental health. The power of collective action. The issues of poverty and mental health are interconnected, and addressing them requires collective effort. By taking action, whether through volunteering, advocating for policy changes, or fostering supportive environments, we can create a brighter future for those affected. Together, we have the power to break the cycle of poverty and improve mental health outcomes. Every action counts, and even small steps can lead to significant change. Let us unite to raise awareness, support one another, and advocate for systemic changes that will create a more just and equitable society. Poverty and mental health are not merely statistics. They are the lived experiences of millions of people. By shining a light on these issues and taking action, we can pave the way for a healthier, more inclusive future where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. Your voice matters, and together, we can make a difference. If you found this exploration of poverty and mental health insightful, we invite you to subscribe to our channel. By subscribing, you'll be the first to know when we release new videos that dive deeper into critical issues affecting our society, including mental health, poverty, and more. So hit that subscribe button and become part of our community today. Together, we can make a difference, one video at a time. Thank you for your support.